the meeting. I guess I should have asked, are we live, Amy?
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
Here and over there. All right, flags over in the corner, but please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we had an accident at our North Elementary facility with one of our employees, so I'd just like everybody to keep that employee in your prayers. It sounds like he's got some recovery to do. We'll know more as the day progresses tomorrow and so forth. I wanted to take a moment and just share with the board has heard this, but for those of you who are with us, we have kind of worked on I don't know if agenda is the right word to say, but an effort to focus more on the positives and celebrate those that are going on in the schools, and especially within our students, academically, with sports, and some of their extracurriculars that are in the community. And you'll hear us do that more as we go through the year. We're kind of working some bugs out. We don't have it perfected, but bear with us. We're really wanting to focus on that. And I would challenge you guys, unfortunately, social media is a tool and it's powerful in today's age. And take a moment, if you will, and when you see the sharing of, because we've asked our building principals and folks that anything that's going on to share it, try to get that news out. Lots of people aren't involved in our buildings and still want to see what's going on with our kids. But see what happens when you take a moment and you share that information in a positive note, and see what the response is that you get from your friends and circle. I've really been focusing on that personally in the last month and so forth. And working in Evansville, it's amazing just hearing people that are from Evansville or from the outside area, just by my shares, are saying, man, there's really good things going on at North Posey. You guys are really doing good things. It's all in what they see, and I think the more we focus on the positive, the better we'll do for our kids, because they are doing a lot of great things. And you'll see tonight we've actually got some guest speakers, and we'll reiterate that we have a national award winner and a state award winner, so we're very fortunate to those. I'll get off my soapbox and turn it over. So I guess Mr. Link is our...
Well, we're going to change that up a little bit. We're going to let Mike Washmer and Reagan Casper, she has another commitment that she has to get to, so we're going to let her
go wherever you want.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Reagan Castor. She's a freshman in agriculture education FA. She competed in Discovery, National Agri-Science, which would be analogous to, what would we call that? Science fair, for those that don't. And she competed at state last year. And just because you win the state does not mean you get to go to national. That you have to submit all your materials. And with 700,000 FA members, she was selected based on her research, and they thought that she had something to offer and show. So she got invited to go to national for the second year in a row. And this year she won Division I Social Sciences. And so it's a great accomplishment. Her brother and sister were 7th and 8th and 3rd in their career, and she's already topped them in her first year. So just because you win the state, I want to reiterate that doesn't mean you get to go. So it's amazing, and I told Mr. Fisher and Mr. Bender, it's amazing what kind of research these kids are doing in the high school. There are actually some high schools in the United States they're called, like, what was that one, Biotech. The name of the school is Biotech. And I mean that this is what they do. I mean, this is the future of agriculture and everything else. So I'd like to present Reagan and let her just explain briefly what she did to win the national.
Thanks, Mr. Wasserman. I just want to thank you guys again for inviting me tonight. It's such an honor to represent the FFA and North Posey throughout my project and all my time doing that. So many people are kind of confused about really what my project is, just because it's science fair, and people like kind of associate that as like a nerdy thing and don't really think about that very much. So I'll just explain to you a little bit about what I did. So probably as many of you guys know, I have a lot of relatives that have agriculture degrees. And so I'm very blessed to know all of the opportunities that there are in agriculture. But over time, I've started to learn that my peers really do not know that there are opportunities in agriculture. They just think it's farmers and that's it. And so I really wanted to change that. And so I collaborated with Purdue University, and I created a survey for middle school students to learn what aptitude they had specifically in the agriculture field, and then it would be connected with the major so they could know at Purdue what steps to take next, so if they were interested in that opportunity and could have potentially a career in agriculture in the future. And so, and as Wasmer said, there's a lot of confusion about also like the process of the contest, so I'll explain that a little bit to you as well. So I first competed at state, and it was like a one-on-one interview with some judges. And so I presented my project to them and answered any questions they had. And I was very fortunate to get first at state and was very honored and really excited to get first just at state. But then my application did get sent on to nationals, and I was selected to be one of the 12 out of 50 states in the United States to move on to nationals and to present to the judges. And so whenever you walk in the room, just picture a bunch of science fair boards, and like they're all really good, and it was really nerve-wracking. And so then there's time for me to go interview with the judges. There's 3 judges, and going into it, I knew that 75% of my score was based off of this interview. And so I was added on to more of those nerves, but I guess somehow it worked out pretty well. And so probably as most of you saw, Mrs. Wasmer's post as I was on stage, found out that I did get first to nation. We were all really excited, and I was just so incredibly shocked to get first to the nation, just because, I mean, that's a decently big deal. So I'm very good.
You're being humble.
But I was just really honored to represent the FFA and North Posey with the honor. But really my goal today was just to talk about the FFA and our chapter as a whole, because there are so many opportunities in the FFA that it gives you to learn leadership skills for the future. I mean, just to list some of the contests we do, there's soils judging, dairy judging, chapter meeting where you learn how to run a meeting like you guys are going to tonight. There's, I mean, all different kinds of things. There's even like leadership contests. So we do very well in Quiz Bowl. We usually place at state every year. And right now for the district contest, I'm preparing for a creed speaking. So I'll recite the creed and then answer questions about that. I'm going to give a speech and then answer questions about that as well. And then I'm also going to do extemp speaking, where I found out my topic 30 minutes before I'm going to present it to the judges and then write it and then present to them and answer questions about that. And then I'm also convinced Kaylee Bender to do talent with me, and we're going to tell some pretty awesome farm jokes. So, as you can see, there's a lot of opportunities in FFA where you can learn many leadership skills, as well as something that is so important, that is confidence. I mean, all of those contests, you learn confidence. And also, I just wanted to thank Mr. Wasmer for all he has done for us. I mean, without him, it would not be possible. He is so organized and on time about things, and he's just such a great leader for all of us FFA members. But I also want to thank you guys and all the support the school board has given us as a chapter, as well as me in my journey. None of it would be possible without you guys, and just to have your support in the past as well as in the future as we continue to advance in agriculture and with the FFA. On behalf of myself and the FFA, I just want to thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
We're not done with you. Yeah. So where was nationals? You said
It was actually at Indianapolis, Indiana, I was pretty awesome. Like, that was awesome because like a lot of people, like, I competed against people from like Hawaii or like from California, so they had to fly in and then try to bring that on a plane, and that would have just been so stressful.
So you're saying that you would be too stressful to go to Hawaii with that?
I would have been fine going to Hawaii.
Okay, all right. So is this gonna be a 4-time winner for you since you're a freshman?
That's the goal.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Congratulations.
Yeah, I would.
Thank you.
So
Seriously.
Can you tell us a farm joke?
Now, we're being videoed here, so make it a good one.
This is one I plan to use, so you can tell me if it's good or not. But what did the mama cow say to the baby cow when it was late at night? It's pasture bedtime.
Reagan, I speak for everybody. We are thrilled that you won. I think it's an awesome award, and you've represented North Posey in the FFA in an awesome way. And continue to do so, and keep us informed on what's going on. We appreciate it. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you. She has another commitment, so I think she's gonna try to slip out of here.
Go right ahead.
George, I think I told you to go second, but I think I'm gonna let Cody go second since we're talking about students. I'm gonna go ahead and Cody come up because I know he's got other things he needs to be doing as well.
I've got an agriculture joke too.
Hey, Cody, I will remind you, we're being videoed.
You guys know you call a cow with no legs. Ground beef. You can use that one. I was gonna tell her, but she was rushing. Thank you guys for having me here. I appreciate it. Basically, Dr. Camp asked me to come in and talk about our season, kind of recap the state tournament, team state finals. We started out the year ranked number 2 in the preseason. We've had a good team for multiple years now. We've been knocking on the door of winning. It's been our goal, which I'll talk about a little bit more. And then after the first weekend of the season, we actually broke into the number 1 spot, being ranked number 1. We had a little fun with that. Gave the kids all target shirts, made them wear target shirts to practice. We had a target up in the room, knowing we were going to get everybody's best match every time we wrestled them, whether they were in our class or, they were a bigger school. So we had a lot to work towards and a lot of people gunning for us, which is good. I think it kept us motivated and hungry. But it was a fun ride, being ranked number 1, but it didn't mean much until we won it. Going to team state, we wrestled Churubusco first round way up north. We beat them 48-24, and actually ended up being our closest match of the whole tournament. We're kind of notorious for not wrestling really well in the first round. I'm not happy about that. It's usually what happens. So it was nice to get it out of the way early. Second round, we wrestled South Adams, who was ranked number 8 in the state. We beat them 66-9. We wrestled really, really well in that match. And then the semifinals, we actually saw a familiar foe in Tell City. They were ranked number 3, and we beat them 50-24. And then in the finals, we saw another familiar foe being Southridge, and we beat them 48-21. So the PAC was represented really well. I said all season to my guys, I thought the top 3 teams were all in our conference, and it ended up working out that way. We would like to wrestle Prairie Heights, who Amy and Vince know they broke our heart a couple of years in a row. So we'd like to get a little revenge on them, but beggars can't be choosers, so we were happy to win anyways. But it was a great day of wrestling, with some other things to go along with it. We went 26-1 on the year, and our dual meets broke into the top 20 in the rankings of the entire state. There's about 334 high school teams, and we were ranked 18th in the final rankings, which is pretty cool. We've never been in that before, and there had actually only been 3. We were the third 1A team to ever be ranked in the top 20 in the state. So that was a pretty cool accomplishment. It was almost better than winning the state, because it proved, we could wrestle with the top of the top in the entire state. Our only loss this year was to Evansville Mater Dei. And other than that, we were perfect in the other 26 matches. So we had good competition. Wrestled a lot of Kentucky teams that we beat that are top in their classes in Kentucky as well. Last couple of things, the big 4 things that we have. I wish Reagan was here, because she definitely has these 4 things as well. We're really big on discipline. A lot of kids nowadays, I think, struggle with discipline, don't have it. My kids are beyond discipline with their diet, the workouts we do in school. I check the tardy list every day. We've had three kids tardy all year long. They know if they're tardy, they're going to see me in the wrestling room when they get up there. Anything else, cheating on tests, whatever it may be, teacher complaining, they know they're going to get disciplined up in the room. And I think that's what helps build character and make for a great team. The second thing is we work hard. I think we outwork everyone. We have 3-hour practices. I think we outwork everyone in the weight room. I'm a big believer in the weight program. I run it every day. The 2 periods that Coach Shank's not running, I'm in there running it. My guys are bought in and they put a lot of time in the weight room. The day before team state, we went in the weight room and worked out for about an hour. Took some pictures and sent it to Coach Shank to let him know we were still sticking with it during Christmas break. We had a goal. Reagan talked about that. I thought it was funny. Obviously, we had a goal all year to win team state, and we got to accomplish that goal. A lot of kids start a goal, and then it gets hard, and they kind of go on to something else or change it as a different day. But we stuck it out, and we actually had a sign built last year in January. I can't remember it anymore now. January 22nd of 2019, I had a sign built that said 2020 1A state champs. For almost a year, they had to stare at that every time they walked in the room. Leading up to the state tournament. Now we get to leave it up there for good. So that was pretty cool. And then the last thing, we do things the right way. And with that, I didn't know Mr. Fisher was going to be here, so hopefully he doesn't think I'm kissing up. I got a story that he told about our guys. We went to the PAC duels and we won it. And when we got back, Mr. Fisher drove the bus for us and watched all the matches. And he walked up and said, Cody, you guys wrote the book on how to go to a tournament. On the bus, my guys don't talk. They're quiet. They don't say a word, though, on the trip there. It's all about business. We call it a business trip. This is all Coach Fisher, or Mr. Fisher said this, we're the best dressed. We dress identical. We look the same. Some days we wear khakis and a North Posey shirt. Other days we wear our wrestling warm-ups there, but we're identical in whatever we do when we go there, so we look the same. We stayed overnight at a hotel. We had 23 high school kids in the hotel. I never once worried about them. Mr. Fisher said after 9:45, he never saw another kid, never heard a noise. We were all on the same floor. They win with humility, lose with dignity. When we win a match, we don't flex and run around. When we lose, we don't throw our headgear. We expect to win, and when we lose, we just learn from it. Last couple of things, we won the tournament and got a trophy. When we got the trophy, we took one picture and left. There wasn't kids taking selfies and posing with it, and it was just a step on the road to our state tournament. And our kids understand that, and they understand there's bigger fish to fry. And we were able to do that. And then the best part is when we left, when we got back to school, we actually left the trophy on the bus and forgot it there. So it kind of proved where our kids' minds were and what they were worried about. And PAC duels was just in the way before we got to our state tournament. So they're truly amazing. What they did was unbelievable. I know we were tight for space. And all you take Mr. Gentile up on him saying that he wanted to keep practicing and working on it. So at the next meeting, if you guys want to get the whole team here and recognize them, I appreciate that. I do appreciate you guys letting me come and talk, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. All they did is buy into what I'm selling, and they did it all. They're unbelievable. I know I could have had a couple of them come in and talk, but I didn't think that was fair to all of them, because they all learned this and put a lot of work in to get here. So. But I do appreciate you guys letting me come in, and we've got 4 that qualify for semi-state. They'll wrestle Saturday at 9 a.m. They've got some good draws, and hopefully we'll get some good news after Saturday. They wrestled very bad last Saturday. I'm not happy about that. But hopefully this Saturday they'll turn around and we'll wrestle a lot better. But thank you guys again.
Thank you, Coach. So I will take responsibility for the whole team not being here. We got to get the bugs worked out of the celebration, and that was just a communication fault on my part, and we'll do better, and hopefully we can get them all back in here and recognize them. I'm not a wrestling guy, I'll fully admit. That's not part of my background. I know it's hard to understand, but
yeah.
But he was at sectionals, and he's like, what is going on?
We saw a lot of you guys at Memorial, too. We didn't wrestle well against Memorial. Yeah. That was a bad one to show up to.
And I will say this, and I'm not just saying it because you're here. I'm not kissing up either. But, unfortunately, my daughter got the time wrong on sectionals, and we were there about 45 minutes early. But you could see the difference in North Posey's team versus the rest of the other ones. And Modern Day is probably in that same boat, but I'm not giving them credit for anything. But I agree, your kids stand out. They all looked the same, they all acted the same. You could tell there was a lot of team emphasis on there, and I commend you for that. That's a job well done, and especially in today's world.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
and I enjoyed, I don't understand wrestling, I couldn't explain it one bit, but we had some pretty good crowd following.
Oh, yeah, we have an unbelievable crowd.
And
They're loud. It's awesome.
The kids are doing a great job, and there's nothing better than when they do that little, I don't even know what that's called, when they go across the mat,
Face off.
1 and 2.
Yeah,
And
basically.
there's a lot of North Posey kids walking across that mat, so good job.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
George, you're up.
I don't have an agriculture note, sorry.
Just
Just wanted to give you an update of where we're at with the projects. South Terrace, we're waiting for some weather that will allow us to get back on the ground. I'll send some materials in. They're waiting for either the ground to dry out or freeze up, come and start. And same with finishing up the playground pieces. So just weather dependent there, but we're down to probably, quite honestly, 2 weeks of good weather. You know, we can get in there and get that done. On it at North Elementary, we're tracking some additional mailboxes and waiting for some good weather to do some more work on that concrete wall out front on it. So we need 50 degrees and rising to get back out there, but we've held money back on the contractor to make sure that they come back and do that. All 3 jobs are tracking on budget, or a little bit ahead of the projected budget. So we anticipate that there will be some monies left over at the end when the project is complete. So the board will have to make some decisions on what the next move is on those. At the high school, we're moving into the final locker rooms for renovation there. There's 2 issues that have occurred at the outdoor facility. One of them we're taking what we thought was a negative, and after a lot of discussions, turning it into a positive, is that the sewers out there are almost dead level, very flat. Nothing, we can't get into anything out there. We're going to have to pump to get sewer in there, and actually, it wasn't my suggestion. I wish it was, but it wasn't. Dr. Camp called me one day and said, well, instead of pumping sewage out of that building why don't we do something that would benefit the entire campus here? And we're going to go, because the main sewer line that's run out to the sewer treatment plant is also almost dead level as well. I mean, in terms of running sewage, it's dead level. So what we're going to do is take that money we're going to put into pumping sewer out of that building and redo the manhole where all the sewers from the main building come out into, and we're going to put an injection pump in there and pump out to the sewage, which should help with issues that we've had in the past. It's not going to fix everything up under the building, but it's certainly going to make that run out to the sewage treatment plant a whole lot better. The other issue that just came up about a little more than a week ago, this time of year you'd expect the ground to be frozen, or it's not, and the water table out there has risen enough that we're going to have to cement stabilize all the ground inside the building so they can work. We actually had the geotechnical engineer out the day that the trusses arrived. We had to send the trusses away because geotechnical said you can't set a crane up out here, it's too dangerous because of the ground conditions. So we've just released them to cement stabilize that ground under there. And basically that's just a process where they're going to take 6 pounds per cubic yard of cement and till it in 18 inches to make that a hard slab to work off of on there. And it's a condition. The water table is just up so high. I mean, you could walk out there right now, at least man my size, and you could feel it just pumping underneath you on it. So, but with that being said, we still anticipate there's a little bit of money left over at the high school project. That project is behind a little bit for this reason. We did have a change in site superintendent. The original site superintendent we felt was being taken advantage of by some of the subcontractors, and things weren't happening fast enough, so we requested the contractor to do whatever they needed to do to get things moving at a much quicker rate, which they've done on it. And depending on I don't know how, the sectionals are going, but whether we're gonna get both locker rooms on the girls' side at one time or not.
We moved them out. They're already demoing those. They went in.
Okay. So we're, those last two getting those renovated. So, that's where we're at. Are there any questions anyone has?
We have a projected timeline for the facility.
It's probably, my honest opinion is it's probably gonna be April.
What about the track?
The track, on that, issue, we have gotten rid of the original track surfacing company. We just didn't feel good about him and him coming back. Again, we're waiting for 50 Degrees and Rising. We've he's hired a company out of Illinois. They're actually the ones that did the track for me up at Gibson Southern and has replaced them with those guys. And I just talked to them this morning and they said, we're just waiting on weather. So the weather breaks, we'll be there. And that's, we're all watching the weather to see if we can hit those days where it's 50 degrees, at least 50 degrees through the day. So that's the best I can tell you. As mild as the winter's been, I'm hoping that we get an early spring and not a late winter.
So I know you've mentioned this before when we've done projects, and one of the comments I get from the public is, don't you guys put contractual deadline dates into these? It's my understanding that adds significant cost to it.
Yeah, we do, but there are things that are out of our control, just like this winter. I mean, this has been abnormally mild, in my opinion. More precipitation, bringing the water table up. We don't generally, if you were to ask me to put liquidated damages in the project, which basically means that for every day you're late, you're paying the school corporation back. I can tell you for every $100 you're going to spend getting back on that, you're going to spend $200 in attorney's fees battling out what was average weather, because there'll be a claim every time that a claim for additional time every time that something comes up. If it rains a quarter of an inch, there's a claim. And then you have to go back and do the historical research on, and it's just, the only winners, in my opinion, in that are the attorneys. And it's different if you got hospitals where every day they're not open, it's costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars. If there was a financial driver like that for school corporation, then it would make sense if you're literally losing money like that. But in 30 years, I've never done liquidated damages on a school job. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, have a good evening.
You too.
Sean, you're up.
All right.
I want to talk just a little bit about some of the changes that are happening with graduation requirements for specifically our current freshman class, which is the 2023 cohort. Good news for the current cohorts, so our 2020, 21, and 22 are also eligible to take advantage of these graduation requirements that works for them, but they're still currently on the old graduation model. So I'll explain a little bit about how the current model works, and then we'll talk a little bit about how this works. And I just think I put together some things that are available for most of us. If Amy has went ahead and put up the Indiana Graduation Pathways website out at the DOE, this is probably one of the best tools that I've seen. That they've really given us almost everything we need right here on one page to be able to understand the new graduation requirements, be able to administer the new graduation requirements, give us tools to look at, whether it be tools and things that other schools are using that they have shared on this website to be able to give us the best chance to do this the right way. So I've been really impressed with this. If you scroll down, you can see the 3 requirements. And I can talk, I'm going to speak shortly about those so that everybody's got a general understanding. I've had the opportunity to talk about this last year with freshman orientation, obviously with parents available. just letting them know how this is going to change and how it's different, and kind of reassure them that we're aware of how this works and we're going to shepherd the kids along. We're not going to just cast them out there not knowing what they need to do or when the requirements come up. So I am going to talk about this and then give you some ideas about what we're going to do strategically at the high school. I think to give kids the best chance to have the most success with graduation, and I'll kind of explain our rationale as well. So right now, most of us are aware the way that it works is you get your 40, you get your 40 credits, unless you're academic honors or technical honors, in which case it's 47, and you pass the GQE, which is the ISTEP grade 10 test. So all the folks, the kids that are 2020, 2021, 2022 are all, took the test or will take the test in the spring of their sophomore year. Those that were unsuccessful on it get opportunities to retest and get additional assistance with remediation to help them be successful on subsequent times that they take it. So if you get your diploma and you pass the GQE, then you're eligible to graduate. That's just how it's worked, and it's worked that way for years and years. The way this is going to change for this 2023 cohort, which is our current freshmen, if you take a look at your sheet, the first sheet that's there, there are 3 requirements. The first requirement is no change. No change from anything we've ever done, in a long time. 40 credits, 40 credits out there, or if they want to pursue academic or technical honors diploma, it's 47. That stays the same. They still have to earn their diploma. They still have to get their credit. So no changes there. If you look at the second requirement, and this is a little bit hard to chase, it's kind of in gray under overview. It says learn and demonstrate employability skills. And that's going to involve participation and demonstration of that participation of a project-based, service-based, or work-based learning experience. And I don't have time tonight to explain all of those different variables, but for example, if a student works somewhere, has gainful employment, and get a letter of employment verification from an employer, that satisfies the work-based learning component and therefore checks off the second requirement for graduation for that student. So if that student were to get all their, earn their credits, and they've had a gainful work experience that could be signed off on by an employer, they would have satisfied the second requirement by way of the work-based learning requirement. Now they could do project or service, it's or, okay? It's not all 3, they can do or. Tonight, we were fortunate to see a young lady come in here and show us her project. That was clearly a project-based learning checkoff for Reagan, if she, would choose to use that. She may satisfy that requirement in 40 different ways. Likely, I could expect her to do this in more than one way, but we just watched her box 2 tonight. We call them boxes, box 1, 2, and 3. Her graduation requirement number 2, we saw it tonight. That's 2 for her, all right, box 2. For some of you asking about some of the other ways that it could be done, athletics actually counts. It falls under service-based learning. And then we've got a little artifact that we're putting together with a sign-off from a coach or sponsor that we'll file for the student. And we can file these things away at Harmony. Harmony has functionality to allow us to track this as well, all electronically. But we're going to keep paper copies along with the electronic this first couple of years till we get comfortable with accountability. So a sport can work, and it only has to happen one time. If they play a sport, they complete the season, get signed off on by the coach or sponsor, even in the first semester of their freshman year, they've satisfied box 2. They've satisfied the second requirement for graduation, and then they're on to 1 and 3, which is all right there. If you go down to graduation pathway requirement number 3, if you look, it's post-secondary ready competencies, and those are listed in yellow on the cover sheet. Those are the variety of ways that students can earn their post-secondary ready competency. If you go down there, put a little star or a dot next to CTE concentrator, which is the 4th from the bottom, because I'm going to use that as a reference. It's very easy whenever you look at the graduation pathways and think about career pathways, that gets blended a lot. And we don't know, well, what's a graduation pathway, what's a career pathway? A graduation pathway is simply it's a pathway to graduation. A career pathway is a sequence of courses that's a pathway to a career. CTE concentrator is where they're most closely related. There's a way to satisfy the 3rd requirement by way of something like a career pathway, and I'll explain that just a little bit as we flip through the packet. So I'm trying to make this as easy as possible to see it. Interestingly, if you look at this, I'm going to just give you a couple scenarios before we move on and look at the nuts and bolts of CTE concentrator. If you think about honors diploma, so those students pursuing an academic honors diploma, could potentially earn, they could check off box 1, which is their diploma, and you can see it's the first bullet under number 3. They can also get number 3 with an academic honors diploma. Now, I don't think we would ever want to put all of our eggs in one basket and ask students to go for that, because life happens late in high school careers and things can change. And you get a poor grade in one class and you lose that opportunity. So we have a strategy that we're going to use with our kids to try to help them be as successful as possible. They can do it through SAT and ACT scores. They can super score that. So if they choose to take the SAT multiple times, they get a high score on math in one sitting, and then the next one they get a high score in English. They can combine those in order to satisfy that requirement. The Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, the ASVAB, minimum score of 31 will get the job done for students that works for. Industry certifications like CNA, there's a long list. Even like Microsoft certifications, Adobe certifications that we're capable of offering here at school are possible to check off the third requirement. Apprenticeships, which we're currently working on right now through Posey County Works, which is a program with the EWIN Partnership and Posey County Economic Development. We're going to give kids an opportunity to go down and possibly work through GAF in Mount Vernon. It's kind of a pilot stage right now, but I'll have more information on that in the coming months. We talked about concentrator. They can do it through dual credits. So they get 3 courses, 9 transcriptable credits. Can also satisfy this. And then they have options for locally created pathways, like maybe a local industry partner that would like to put something together specific to their industry. We have not worked on that or built that, but it's something I think that's going to work for us going forward in the future to set that up. There is a waiver opportunity for box 3 as well. If you turn the page, there's a grid at the bottom. I just want to show this to you so you can actually see it. It's the easiest way for me to understand it. If you look at the 10th grade row, it says I-STEP plus 10. I-STEP plus 10, I-STEP plus 10. But note for 2021, it says not assessed for the 10th grade. That's because, this new group of freshmen, when they're 10th graders next year, they won't take the GQE as we've been familiar with it. That'll move on to another college entrance exam that's still to be determined by the state what that's going to be. So I just wanted you to see it on the grid and how it plays on the grid. If you flip the page to the 3rd page, this is just something I wanted you to see. This is the actual check sheet that our guidance department is going to use to track these for our students. This is going to exist in the student file. We're going to use this. We obviously have Harmony to do it as well, and we fully intend to go to 100% Harmony. But for right now, this was something that was made available on this website with some other schools that have shared their processes and some of their forms. We were able to use this to put that together. You can see down there, that box 1, 2, and 3, very easy to see. And then under box 3, your options, including CTE concentrators. So I'll talk about those. All right, let me talk just a little bit quickly, and I'll get out of the way, about CTE concentrator. We think that that's the best strategy to help most of our kids achieve box 3 checkoff without putting eggs in a basket that we feel like may not work out down the road. So we want them to focus on number 1, just an area of interest when they come into high school. If that's agriculture, they'll take intro to ag foods and natural resources. If it's construction, they'll take intro to construction, intro to, machine trades. They'll work in those particular areas. We also have areas in business and, also areas in health professions. So we have those available to us. If you look at the second to last page, you can actually see the cluster or pathway that we can offer right here in our building. And the 2 courses they would have to take together in order to satisfy the CTE concentrator definition. So they'll start off with an intro course, but the actual definition for these freshmen, and it'll be all classes going forward, is going to be that they have to take 2 advanced non-duplicative, so they can't be the same course, in a single pathway. So 2 advanced courses in one pathway that don't duplicate, and you can see that right there on the page. Those are the options we have inside of our building. And then finally, the last page are all of our Southern Indiana Career and Technical Center opportunities. So seniors that would go through that process, go there as juniors, as well as seniors, would have an opportunity to satisfy those requirements there. We feel like by targeting, those particular pathways with a concentrator is going to put some emphasis on career pathways for our students, allow them to achieve those objectives. If they get a C or better in those courses, they check off the 3rd requirement. Everything else should be okay. If they happen to get an academic honors diploma, score really high in their SAT, ACT, go to the military and knock the ASVAB out of the park, fantastic. But if I think we focus on the concentrator, you'll capture the most of them, give them most of them the best opportunity to graduate. Okay? I know that's a lot, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go fast. All right? Questions?
We were hopeful in having some students earn the governor's work ethic certificate.
Yep.
Do we have any on track?
We do. We have 25 students on track. We had more than that, that were eligible. Not all of them have turned in some of their, some of their materials to be eligible to actually get it.
Right.
We've entered students into the portal. The governor's work ethic certificate is a really nice thing. I'm really glad that they're doing this. I think done it for a couple of years. Some of our area schools have done it as well, but it rewards students for more than just academic performance. There's academic performance has to be solid, but just no tardies, no late, lates to class, lates to school, discipline has to be low, attendance has to be high, and really to reward, because that way when they leave here with that certificate, employers can know that they're work ready because they've demonstrated that over a large body of work. So really nice thing. If we can get 25 or more out of here this year with that, that'll be great. And that will satisfy box 2, second requirement. It'll satisfy that, not 3, but 2. Any other questions?
So I know that work ethic certificate had been a buzzword with a lot of, over the last 2-3 years, that's been a hot topic. Are we working with collaboration with some community members on some benefits of these kids obtaining that? I know like in some communities, they put them to the top of an interview.
Yeah, that actually exists for some of our current employers in the community because they've already been reached out to by the folks that put together the work ethic certificate. So yeah, they get preferred interviewing status at a variety of different places if they are on there. There's a map. I don't have the website available right now. If you go out there, it's under the Department of it's Workforce Development, DWD. Under the DWD, if you look that up in Indiana, the information on the certificate is there, and then there's also an interactive map that you can see the employers that have engaged with them and are going to provide some opportunities for those kids to get that.
And so this took some collaboration with community members and outside school people.
It did initially to get it put together, but as far as us, there was just a lot of homework that we had to do on our end to understand how the systems work. Dr. Bender did a lot of work to get us registered with the state to be able to do it. I was kind of starting to test the waters a little bit, and she gave me one more push I needed to make it happen. So yeah, I mean, it took some work. There's some obviously partners in the area that are interested in this type of thing, and we're ready to go. I'd like to see a few more kids, but right now we're about 25.
And even at the state level, they were still developing like a template and tracking mechanism to help track the kids throughout their 4-year career here. So
yeah, like Work One Southwest was the original spot that you would go through to do this. Work One Southwest, they had a portal that was developed actually with a local IT firm, set a web-based portal up for them to track their students and the evaluations and the forms. The state, I believe, went and they acquired that one way or the other, and that's going to be something that you must use next year. You can use it this year, but you must use their system next year. I'm trying to use it. We'll see how it goes.
And so I assume if the partnership with GAF works, right? That's GAF is who we're using.
Well,
we'll look
no, that's unrelated. The GAF thing is an apprenticeship opportunity we're putting together for students. We're gonna go through a screening process to come up with some candidates that would work. And it's going to be the type of student that's, that would normally satisfy those governor's workforce certificate requirements, but they're not really going to the Southern Indiana Career and Tech Center. They're not in a position where they have to spend the whole day at school. And so there's a handful of them. We're going to look to target between 4 and 6 students to maybe take advantage of that opportunity. Mount Vernon, and we're working together with them in order to make that all happen.
That's it with that. It's about 3 years in the making for the E-Wing grant, the Economic Development Partnership.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you picture what a college internship would look like, that's really what they'll be experiencing. They'll be going through the same safety training that a new employee at GAF would have. It's not a guarantee that they would be employed upon graduation, but if everything works out for them, they would have a preferred shot at it.
It could be a good thing. Like I said, we're right now, we've gotten the application is complete. So we're doing the final kind of collection of names to propose this to. There's going to be, obviously parent contact, student proposal to see if they would be interested so they can understand how it works, and then get with guidance to craft a schedule that'll work for them at the beginning of next week.
Great job, Sean.
Yeah, awesome work.
All right, thanks, appreciate it. If anybody's got any questions, just reach out to me. All right, thank you.
next patient concerns.
I don't have a sheet. Did we,
It was
I
up
don't,
there. You want to go?
I can get it.
there's a sheet up there, on the table.
Yeah, where the agenda.
Nobody signed up. I'll hand that to you to file accordingly.
You're up on the,
Consent items. In the consent items, I would like to add one. This got turned in today. We would like the choir would like to go on a out-of-state trip to Murray State, Kentucky to participate in the Quad State Choral Festival, and that is February the 25th. We've allowed them to go down there to several different things, and this one just didn't make it in the packet.
So we'll entertain a motion to approve the consent item, consent agenda with the minutes, claim docket, and items, including the trip as Dr. Camp mentioned.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items as presented, plus the addition.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mrs. Will and seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the consent items. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 5-0. All right, new business. We wanted to take a moment to make a clarification from our January meeting in regarding to the conflict of interest statements that were made. And I apologize, I'll take full blame for this. I should have been able to think a little bit quicker on my feet. I was taken off guard, kind of blindsided by this. But nonetheless, afterwards, I've been able to collect these. In regards to the conflict of interest that was mentioned regarding the marriage of our assistant superintendent and school board attorney, we were notified of that marriage, I don't know, between July and the August board meeting. Sorry, I don't remember the date. I'm not going to challenge you to remember it. There you go. We contacted our council, which is with the Indiana School Board Association. Their lead counsel or general counsel is Lisa Tanzel. We use her quite a bit for guidance and direction on a multitude of different events. So I reached out to her on behalf of the board. I just stated that our board attorney and the assistant superintendent got married. We wanted to check with as to a conflict of interest in that matter. Ask her to shoot me an email regarding that thought and let her know when our next board meeting was. And I'll just read to you our email that we received from her. Said, Jeff, sorry, I've been in a meeting all day. The relationship is not a conflict of interest under our criminal statute or common law. Under the criminal conflict of interest statute, a public servant would have a conflict of interest if she had a financial interest in a contract between the board and the public servant or dependent of the public servant. But the conflict does not exist in cases where the public servant or the dependent of the public servant receives compensation through salary or an employment contract. The public servant in this case would be the assistant superintendent, who might have to disclose to the board that the attorney is her spouse and therefore dependent, but because the dependent is entering into a contract for services rendered, the assistant superintendent would not have to disclose the conflict. I don't believe it is a conflict under common law either, since neither the attorney nor the assistant superintendent is under the direct or indirect administrative control of each other. Hope this helps. I know it's brief, but wanted to get your response ASAP. That was from Lisa Tanzel, the general counsel of the Indiana School Boards Association. I'll give you that. You can add that. as appropriate. I should have read the date on that. August 12th is the date for that. So I just wanted to point out that the board had checked into the conflict of interest. It was giving guidance to us that there was no conflict of interest. No action was required by the board, so we move forward as business as usual. There was another statement made in the January meeting regarding a teacher having to resign her position on committees as a result of conflict of interest. I'm not aware of an action that the board has taken to require that resignation, nor I'm aware of anything. I don't know if anybody else is, but I've not been a part of those, so I don't know.
I'm aware of it, but not at the board level. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's not a board issue. Whenever you're done, then I do have something.
Oh, that's fine. So I just wanted to clarify those two statements. So I'm open to if anybody else has a comment regarding that. I mean, there's no action. We'll not take a vote, but.
I will say I'm disappointed to even see this on the board meeting agenda. I assume this is an attempt to clarify the questions I posed last month. And to me, the time's passed on that. The decision was made last month. I guess we could go into differences of conflict of interest and potential conflict of interest. I'm not sure what good it does for this situation. I do think as a district, it is something that we probably need to look into probably for the future. Where do you draw the line on this? I mean, we live in a small community. These things are going to come up, but is it spouses of board members, brothers of board members, cousins of board members, sons of board members? You're going to have these situations. And maybe it is worth looking into a nepotism type policy in the future to where we know what we're looking at instead of just being hit by this all of a sudden. I think it's very disappointing that we're spending more time defending an action that we took last month than we did actually discussing that decision in the meeting. Kind of what we're saying here tonight, I guess, is that our reason's right because it's legal. And that is disappointing to set the bar that low on the decisions we make. I don't think, and it's sad that we're talking about it now, this should have taken place last month. I don't understand, again, why the board chose a perceived or potential conflict, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, it's not a legal conflict, and I even said that last month. We were made aware that this was not a legal conflict, but we had another option, another good option to look at, and we chose not to do that. So to me, that's the disappointment.
Well, as I stated, I wish I would have thought quicker on my feet. I apologize to everybody for not being able to do so. I was completely caught off guard. I will speak to perceived conflict of interest, and you stated it pretty well, that we're in a small community. I think if we start down a path of perceived methods of making decisions, I mean, what's going to stop us from incorporating a perception into other decisions? And that's a slippery slope, because perception is an opinion, and we all have difference of opinions. I know of no other way than to reach out to a professional and take their guidance in the matter, and that's what we chose. And I understand you're disappointed in the fact that we're talking about it now, but from the standpoint that the community's response and even the local paper decided to run it with a front page headline, I think there was a perception, if I can use that word, from the community that we did nothing in terms of reviewing the conflict of interest. And so I felt that it was important to point out that we had done our due diligence and reached out for a professional's opinion on the conflict of interest matter and acted appropriately. And I think it is valued because it was brought up that your wife had to resign her position when I'm not so sure that that's a board matter. That's more of that has something to do outside the board. That is nothing we have ever discussed nor required.
And that's why I'm saying it would probably be a good idea to maybe look into nepotism type of policy in the future.
I mean, we can
So
discuss
know what
that
the
certainly,
rules are.
and I would ask that we probably postpone that to discuss that at another time. Off the top of my head, I worry that if we incorporate too strict of a nepotism rule, we won't have employees, but that is what it is. And then when we incorporate, we'll have to grandfather them in because we certainly have our fair share of relatives and friends and neighbors that are working in the corporation. But unless anybody else has anything else,
I'd like to say something. As I think any fair observer would think, I generally don't interject my comments in decision making. It's because I'm the attorney for the board. I advise the board on legal matters when asked and point out when these severe legal errors made without being asked. I don't have a vote on this. Five of you do. So I think any conflict, perceived conflict, for a board member would be much greater than mine. I don't vote on teacher contracts. I don't vote on any contract. I don't vote on anything. So I thank the board for the ones who voted to support me 4-1 of your confidence in me, and let you know at any time, if 3 of you want me to step down, I will. I think I've done a good job for the board.
And I stated such.
And I think that, I didn't say anything because at the last board meeting, because the matter was being voted upon. I didn't want to influence anybody. Believe me, I could have spoken up really easily.
Do you care to speak to the questions that I asked them?
What question are you talking about?
I'll have to find it here. For instance, if we did have a disciplinary type situation with either the superintendent or the assistant superintendent, what would be your role?
I would do whatever the board directed me to do.
And
And the board-
I think I can add to that too,
Yeah.
because there hasn't been a personnel issue that we've discussed or been brought to the board that hasn't gone to other council who are specialized in issues of personnel and contract issues and all of that with a certified employee.
and I would echo
We
that.
never moved to terminate anyone without seeking counsel out of Indianapolis.
Or discipline.
Or discipline.
I mean, anytime there's been a remote discipline question, we've always
So,
gathered.
but I'm just asking, as our attorney,
I would,
would you need to recuse yourself on that? or
Well,
could you-
recuse versus asking for outside help, that's two different issues.
It is.
Of course, I would recuse myself if that's what the board directed me to do. But you see, if an employee who happened to be a spouse of a board member, if disciplinary action rose to such a high level, you can see that you might have the same problem.
Absolutely, and that's why I wonder if maybe that's where this policy would come in handy if we look into that.
Well,
Because
but I'm not a
every one of
voter,
us
but
has relatives.
I'm not a voter.
True.
So if you hire outside counsel, I recuse myself, there is no problem.
Yeah,
You're a board member that has a vote.
that's why my
So that,
specific
we can go back and
question
forth with
was-
what ifs.
Yeah.
We can go back and forth, with what ifs. hypothetical is a long time.
And I mean, in value of time, I would choose not to have a discussion about what ifs.
We shouldn't even have this month. I agree.
So,
I just feel like I need to assure the board that I've never had a disciplinary issue for
And
almost
I
30
hope
years.
we don't have this in the future, believe me.
You're a bad apple.
Winding up my career, I don't have that in my future as well.
the only other, and I just thought of this, so I apologize, I don't have anything written in front of me, but the only other point I wanted to make is I would appreciate, this is for all the board, that if we want to make a change in a service provider, we have that discussion as a board before we go out and gather a bid from somebody to do so. I think that's an important enough discussion that we don't do that on our own.
I agree 100%. And I mean, what we looked at last month has been at your office since September, right? So that wasn't done.
No, he's saying do it as a board.
But I don't think the
do it
board asked,
unilaterally.
I don't think the board asked for that. I think you did that on your own.
No, that's not true. There were other board members who had concerns and said that they wished to look into it.
I don't remember that being a part of a meeting, but I mean, I could be wrong. I don't go back and review every meeting, but I don't remember us taking an action on that.
Okay.
And so in the future, we can't change the past, but in the future, all I'm saying is that should be an action that we take, is that we probably ought to vote or at least do something. I don't know what the formal action is, but that if we're going to change the service provider, we at least ought to have an open discussion, because I'm sure, no offense, I'm sure there's other people that may be interested in providing that service, and I don't know what our legal requirements are in posting an advertisement for it, but we certainly want to be open to
Well, your
that.
legal requirements is that personal service contracts, you don't have to bid. You know, whenever you hired the architecture for the building project, you didn't receive bids from architects. It's personal service contract, and the board hires whoever they feel comfortable with.
Fair enough. Okay. Unless anybody has an objection, we'll move forward.
Well, we have Donna Nash here tonight. She came to me and we had a nice conversation. She is in charge of the MAGIC program. The MAGIC program services 34 of our North Elementary students. On our early release days, they go over there because they get out of school so much earlier. They have a lot longer time with them.
No, we don't have any, they go home on those days.
On the early release days?
Yeah, that's that I'm wanting to change that.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Okay.
So normally, just on Tuesday and Thursday, they
Okay.
come after school until 5 o'clock.
So on our early release days, when they fall on those days, they want to take them and they want to go on field trips with them. And the people involved are Donna Nash, Karen Davis, and Lana Kraft. And so what I'm asking the board to do to give us permission to allow them to use our bus at no charge. They will pay the bus driver for their services and be able to take these students who are our students with our retired teachers to go on a field trip during our early release days. We have 6 a year.
And even if they didn't fall on a Tuesday or Thursday, we'd still
We
like
still
to
do
do
it on
that.
those days.
The kids have said, you know, they hate early release days because they go home to an empty house on those days. And if they didn't have the MAGIC program, on the days they don't come to MAGIC, they go home to an empty house. So, and we provide homework assistance. We have sewing, cooking, arts and crafts, and this year we've added geography that they do on a rotation. Every 2 weeks they go to those classes. And then, but the most helpful thing probably is the homework that we do with them. We even have high school kids that come and volunteer one-on-one. If they're below level and they need to catch up, we get extra work, extra help for them so they can get their work done.
Sample 1 that she provided me was going to Toyota, and sample 2 was going to Lyle Station. So they would be going to those places. So I'm asking the board to approve the MAGIC program under Donna Nash's leadership to be able to take a bus and us not charge them for the mileage and the gas and all of those things to take our students on these field trips, and they will pay the bus driver.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'm glad you were here. I messed it up.
I'll make a motion that we approve the additional field trips for the Magic program.
Second?
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt and seconded by Mr. Stock to approve the use of the buses for the Magic program's transportation as presented by Dr. Camp. Any comments or questions?
I got one question. We would have field trip, like we normally do, permission slips
Permission
and
forms, yes.
all that stuff.
Yeah, and they'll take care of all that. We won't house it.
Okay.
So this is a non-school affiliated field trip.
Right, but
correct?
they're gonna be on our buses, so I didn't know if there was some sort of liability with, make sure that we have permission to take the kids. And
Sure.
As far as legalities go, everything's good then with this, right?
I assume so. I'm no attorney. I'm not speaking to that.
Of course, I know it.
Because it's our kids.
Yeah,
That's how we get, it's all North Elementary kids.
So they will they will have the parents sign a permission slip similar to what they do in school.
Yes, absolutely. And also I want to add, we're not going any place that they go on field trips in school. I've already checked all the field trips that they do at North Elementary. So we're going other places. And a lot of them are like Toyota, that would be a business. I'd like to do Berry Plastic and places like that to give the kids an idea of jobs in our community and what kind of education they need to maybe increase their desire to do better in school so they can get a good job. And these are at-risk kids.
Any other comments or questions? So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. I am gonna kiss up here since Donna's here, and because I can. I think the Magic program is one of the best programs in our community, without a doubt. And if you guys get the opportunity, think not only Donna, but she has lots of help from some retired teachers and great community members. It's a program that I sit and get to see a lot of programs in Evansville for non-for-profit. When they talk about a community grassroots program, this epitomizes that. How many students do you guys touch each?
34, we're maxed out. That's all we can handle.
So you're-
is 34. And I have a waiting list of 8. And the way we get our at-risk kids, at the beginning of the year, we ask second grade teachers who they think would benefit the most from this program. And then they go through until 5th grade with us. So we hardly ever have openings. We have probably over 50% at risk. Then we do have some kids just from the community, but that's a benefit, to have both
Sure.
groups.
I
And we're totally funded by the community, donations, and grants. We have Jane Cook and Judy Phipps write grants for us, and this is a Lilly grant that I'm doing here. That'll be come from a Lilly grant that we're getting the money to do the field trips with.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a little opportunity. So if somebody wanted to give you money,
Oh, I'd take it.
and what is the best method of getting that to you? Directly to the Magic program or through the community foundation? Is there a?
No, you can just write the check to the Magic program, St. Paul's, UNC.
Outstanding program. I was fortunate both of my kids have gone through it. My oldest still volunteers at it. My youngest, Seth, has a few ideas for improvements he'd like to share with you.
Oh, okay, that would be Seth.
As a graduate, so, but no, we can't thank you enough. It's an outstanding program. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next on the list in our new business, I have a list of summer projects that I would request to be able to move forward on. If you got the spreadsheet up here, and if you want a hard copy, I got a couple of hard copies here. I'm gonna adjust this a little bit. I'm not asking to approve all of these things at this time. The things that do not have a price under them, I'm not asking to approve. And also, I'm going to have to table number 7, the North Elementary cafeteria. I was on the phone with Fred. It's the cafeteria air conditioning for the kitchen. I was on the phone with Fred Bolligman. He didn't feel comfortable that they could do this at an efficient price. And he's given me some ideas of what I need to do as far as changing a coil in there in the system that will allow for, it has a heating coil only in there, changing that out for heating and air conditioning under our current unit. And then there would be some ductwork and piping because it's a 2-pipe system. So I will have to go to our mechanical vendor, and I'll probably have to work with the controls, and that'll involve Danny and probably Performance Services. So I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board on that particular project. But let's start at the top. The top is the domestic water at the North Posey High School and Junior High. The high school is a small piece of it. It's back there where we were sitting tonight. It's that back in that area there. We spring leaks back there weekly. That piping is original piping from there and into junior high. 1987, Danny?
No, 1970.
Yeah, 1970.
The junior high system is all original pipe.
Yeah.
Well, that's 50-year-old galvanized pipe.
So it's leaking all the time. So that, if you remember when we were talking about all these projects, I was waiting to say we would do anything until we found out what this would be. Well, for the high school portion, it's approximately, and the reason I have to say approximately, he broke it down into sections and quotes for each section and each area, running the chases and all the different areas. The chase is 22 inches wide, so they got to find somebody small to squeeze in there and go in there and do the work. But there's 11 different proposals here that create this total amount, and he did say that there could be some possibly changes, and I made some adaptions for what he told me, because there could be some price changes before the summer and different things. So the price is pretty much spot on, but it could change a slight bit. Obviously there could be something that we find that we didn't know about as well. But the high school would be $20,599, and the junior high would be $199,401 for basically a total of $220,000. And I'm gonna break those up into two different projects, one for the high school, one for the junior high, so we can track it. The next thing on the list is, George alluded to that today. I'd like to, I'm estimating approximately $100,000 for the bond, for the sewer project for the whole complex. And that's gonna come out of the bond, so that's not in my total. And then I have replaced the asphalt drainage on the tennis courts. That will be out of operational fund money, and I have a high number there. I'm working on a price now. I've been told that it would definitely be under that. With a lot of our work out there that we did, we created with the pad that we created for the special ed ramping, it's pushing water onto the tennis courts. So we have to redirect that water in some drainage, or either through a swell. And then we've torn up the asphalt back there, so we're going to have to do some work to the asphalt. So I know that's a high number. I know it should not cost that much. I just didn't want to underestimate. The clinic roof needs replaced. There's been some shingles that have been blown off. We've had to replace them and glue them back down. And the windows are rotting. They're to the touch, they're disintegrating. So we need to replace the windows in the clinic. And that's an estimate. I don't think it'll be any more than that. That's not a real big building, and there's not a ton of windows that we have to replace. So, and like I said, I took the $50,000 out that I was estimating for the air conditioner at North Elementary. And then remodeling the high school cafeteria down at the bottom. What we're talking about is all new furniture in there, new flooring. And if we like that flooring, we've been talking about maybe putting that flooring in the foyer as well to jazz it up. We have 4 different samples. Dr. Wannemuller and them, they created a study group to look at this, and they've had one meeting and getting ready to have another. And so we got some input from the staff to look at that. That's an estimate. I did talk to the flooring people. I think we're very good on that estimate as well. And then the $35,000 for the LED lighting around the building. If you drive around our building, a lot of times it's real dark. We have cameras out there. Some spots are hard to see. We're wanting to take out all the lights attached to the building and change them out for LED fixtures. And that $35,000 is the whole building. There is an alternate to do some of the other pole lights that haven't been changed out yet. I think this also includes one of the pole lights up here in the front. So anyway, that's a very good figure. And then I think that we need to take, and this is rainy day funds, it's not in your total. I think to take the red van that we have and the white van we have and trade those off and get one van and reduce from 3 to 2. Because the white van has, over 100,000 miles on it. I can't remember the exact number. I think it's like 130,000, and the new red van has around 70 or 80 on it now. So if you want to keep a rotation and not have to buy 2 at one time, or they're broken down, our teachers use those a lot. We have the money in rainy day to pay for that. Cafeteria tables for South Terrace, $40,000, and then regular summer maintenance things that come up over the summer when Danny and his crews are cleaning. I stuck in $50,000 just for things that happen, and equipment that he needs to buy. And then technology, these are good quotes from Jake. We want to buy, we'll be starting our 3rd year in the Chromebook. And we're beginning to see some breakages and some tearings and some bad batteries. Our teachers have the same Chromebook as our students. What we're looking at is buying our teachers new Chromebooks, taking basically the 100 Chromebooks they have, put them back in inventory for our students, and the new Chromebooks will be the new Chromebooks that we get for the students when we redo our lease for the Chromebooks. Project Lead the Way computers, you have to, by Project Lead the Way standards, you have to update your computers every so often. Those computers have been there about 5 or 6 years. It's time to update those. He's got CDI for that. And then the webcams, he wants to get webcams for the interactive boards that we put on. And so the $6,000 is for that. And then we have already purchased drones. They're on, I don't know if they've come in yet. They were not in as of last week. And so we used the donated funds from the 4 or 5 donors that gave us that money to buy those. I also gave them another $4,700 each to buy supplies again. And that's what the high school and junior high, if you look in, they're using that money to buy those printers, those engravers. So that money is being used there. We've already given $20,000 of donated money to the 3 STEM labs. We did not, at that first 20, the high school didn't get any because they've had things before. So that was to catch them up. And we spent $47,000 of donated money for soccer goals and netting and different things that we needed for the facility. But anyway, those are the things that we have. So if you're looking at the list, I'm requesting tonight to do number 1, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 9, number 11, 13, 14, 15, and 16. That total is $670,000. And that, that's a give or take a few, some of those things are estimated high and some of those are almost exact figures.
And then we think at a later date, we'll come back with the other projects that.
Yeah, there's some other things on here. I mean, like the soccer booth out there is rotten. We really need to do some work for there. One of the things Danny is going to do out of the $50,000, we need to sand the soccer field. It hadn't been sanded in about 4 or 5 years. It makes it impossible for the Bermuda to spread. So we have to do some things there. The bandstand concession is out there. Now that the tennis courts and everything's down, you can see there's some rotten wood on that needs to be sided or something. And then the LED light in the buildings. I mean, we have converted a lot, but we still have some more to do. And there is some rebates for some of that, and we'll apply for a rebate for what we're doing on the outside of the building. And then the HVAC, we need to maintain those, and the R-Mules are what you do when you rebuild the compressors to give them a 5-year warranty. So we need to start looking at that. And then that's about it. Come back and do that. And there's a few other things that are out there that are inside that $50,000 that Danny is already planning on doing.
And you might have said that, and I apologize, but I know on here you've got the cabinetry for the junior high and the science and the special ed rooms.
The cabinetry, whenever we started replacing cabinetry, the rooms that we have not replaced are the 2 science labs. We've got all new science labs in the high school. There's 5. We've actually built some. And the junior high, they're still dealing with the original cabinetry. And so, while it's in decent shape, the rooms are looking dated and old. And then in the special ed room, the moderate and severe classroom, we took the old the home ec room down in the junior high. We took that cabinetry and moved it over into there, so they're dealing with the same thing, and a lot of that stuff is broken in the move and everything. So those 3 classrooms need to be redone at some point in time. And so, we'll move down the road and try to look at getting those in either this year. If not, they become the priority next year. And we have that 3-year plan. So if whatever we don't do here, we shift. And if I'm coming back later and we have money left over, I'll come back with another list.
I'd like to see us get those done if we could, the cabinetry. So,
okay.
I know you're working with the money to accomplish that, but and I assume as long as we move forward with that by the end of the school year, we can get that done by the.
Oh yeah, if we anything that we're approving now should be done by the beginning of school. If we came back and needed to get cabinetry, we're working with the architect now to get furniture. I can tell them, it's pretty easy to tell them to go out and get quotes for cabinetry, and if we buy cabinetry, we're going to also buy furniture for those classrooms as well. So cabinetry and furniture, and we'll get a price, and then we'll go from there.
You had mentioned that 3 to 5 year CPF, which I noticed I had a problem accessing it, and it's probably just that I don't know what I'm doing, but I guess there's 2 different Google Drives. One's affiliated with the North Posey email address, one's with my personal. It took me a while to figure out I could only get to that list from my personal. Maybe I can get some training from Jake on doing a better job finding that. But it might be a good idea to look at the list Mr. Fisher has put together with the safety items and kind of combine that with this CPF 3 to 5 year plan, because there's some things that would probably fit quite well.
I know there's a safety list there, and it probably does need to be incorporated into one. And we make the regular general maintenance one color and the safety another color, so that we can do that. I know there are some safety things going on this summer. North Elementary are purchasing the screens for the windows so people can't see in the building. We're doing the lighting here around this entire facility, which I consider that a safety issue, more lighting. And there's some smaller things like that are going on throughout the community, but not the big projects. So, but we need to probably incorporate both of those.
So there's grants available. We've been fortunate in the last couple of years to get grants for this safety stuff. Is that correct?
Right, but they cut it back on now it's with your ADM. So we went from 50,000 matching down to 10.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's part of the, we give you something and we take something away from our state legislatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, originally on the teacher appreciation grant, all you had to do was apply for it the first year. We got $240,000. Now we get 50. You know.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve the items as listed by Dr. Camp. So I'll entertain a motion.
make a motion that we approve the projects as listed by Dr. King.
Second.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Oakley to approve the items for the summer projects list as presented by Dr. Camp. And I'll just state, if I make this correct, items 1, 4, 5, 6, 9, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16. Is that right?
1, 4, 5, 6, 9, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16.
For a total of approximately 670,000?
Yeah.
Okay, you got that? Don't mess with that. Any other comments or questions? It wouldn't hurt us to go ahead and get a quote on that cabinetry since they're here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not forced to act on it, so
Yeah.
we may move forward with that.
At first, I thought about having Danny go and order cabinetry and do it himself, but then when I was telling him, his knees started buckling and I was scared that he might pass out, so I backed off.
Fair enough. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 5-0.
And I may need Danny to help me here, but I think I've got this too. For the last few years, we've had Alpha Mechanical as our mechanical contractor. We signed a service agreement with them as well. And we went out, we were having some trouble actually, and it caused us to go out and look and see. And so anyway, we contacted DeBra and Kemple, and they came in and they gave us a quote, an all-inclusive quote for exactly what they were doing, plus adding multiple other things, different vents, different ventilators, different units on the roof that weren't covered in this contract. And the contract for them is $17,978. They'll do our preventative maintenance throughout the year on every one of our units that we have. And it's a real good price. It's more items than, a lot more items than what we had here for less money. And so I'm requesting that at the end of the contract with Alpha, we switch to DeBra Kemple for our mechanical contracting. And Danny, if you want to add to that.
Well, that covered the boilers, all preschools, the chillers. They did include all the exhaust fans on the roof. Part of that was air handling units, but it wasn't in all of the buildings. But that is something that Alpha wasn't covering, so.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to cancel the contract with Alpha Mechanical at the end of the contract term. And go with the DeBra Kemple.
Second.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Mrs. Will and seconded by Mr. Stock to approve the cancellation of the contract with Alpha at the end of the contract term, April 1, 2020, and going to a preventive maintenance services contract with DeBra Kemple as requested by Dr. Camp. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 5-0.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the professional leave request as listed.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the professional leave.
Second.
I'll second it.
So a motion by Mr. Stock and seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the professional leave request as presented by Dr. Camp. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 5-0.
Here's the legislative priorities for Indiana Association of Public School Superintendents. Are you looking for those, or?
Yes, this will
Okay.
be perfect.
Okay, yeah. Every year we have meetings, we have different organizations that we belong to, the Superintendent's Association, School Boards Association, Principals Association, Teachers Association, and they all have legislative priorities. Jeff just happens to be going to a meeting, and so those are the legislative priorities that they're trying to shoot for at this time during this session. Wanted to give you an ADM report. You know, in the past, we used to have to keep the ADM in September and in February. There was no funding in February, and then they did have funding in February. The superintendents and the school boards across the state complained. They went back to only doing funding because you staff for the funding you have in September, and obviously students move around, and people leave, go to the other states, so have you, a lot of different things. So what happens is you have these students leave, and then now you have these teachers that you don't have the money to pay for them because of your funding goes down because they started counting the February count again. So in February, in the fall, we had 1408, and in February we have 1376. So we've lost, and that's a little bigger gap than we normally get through the year, but we do always drop, and so that is the reason that's concerning. The next 6 months, we will be paid on that amount of students versus the 1408, and at approximately $5,600 a student. Doesn't take a rocket science to figure out how much that is. So that's the ADM count.
Well, and I think go ahead, Greg.
How many of those are midterm graduates?
Only a couple.
Only a couple. There were like 2 or 3. And one last year we had, or year before we had like 12, but it didn't count against us. So, there is a bill in progress that hopefully allows us to keep that money for the midterm graduates, because they're fighting up there saying, hey, you've asked us to get people to graduate early. Now you're punishing us financially. Excuse my voice. I'm about to lose it again.
And I think it's probably worth mentioning that although it's never scientific and we're always kind of working from as a reaction, but that 1400 level is kind of our break.
Yeah.
That's the number. If we stay above that as a total enrollment, the finances work really well for us. And below that, we have to play catch up.
Yes, we have to start working and figuring out and tightening the belt. And every year so far we've gone back, but now that they've tied money to it, we're going to have to start really watching what we do on the high number, because we know we're going to get paid 6 months on the low number. With that, go right into the end of the year cash report, which is pretty good. We ended the year with $1,509,000 in the education fund, which is almost the exact same that we had at the end of the year last year. So we maintained. We've been in deficit financing, and so this number is a little bit, a few $100 more. It's not a lot, but we did not end up in deficit financing at the end of this year. The other big fund that you need to pay attention to is operations fund. That's where we do all these projects out of, and all the different things that we do. We ended with, we had the ability to move 15% over from education to operation, and I told you the whole time we didn't need to do that, and we didn't do that. We didn't move 4 of the installments that we had the authority to do. But with that being said, we ended with $445,000 in the operations fund, which is a pretty good number. This is the first year that it's been like this, all one fund, because that is CPF, transportation, and bus replacement. Generally, we have no money in bus replacement because we buy all the buses. And if in the past, we had that bond out there where we paid the teacher retirement, and so we were paying that debt, so we were taking it out of bus replacement. We were buying our buses out of rainy day. We have that money now. Well, I see that number being better in the future, but $445,000 is a pretty good number, because usually we have about 300, 350 in CPF, and usually around 100 to 150, depending on the years, in transportation. So that's not a bad number for the first go around with the consolidation and the new budgeting. So we're pretty good there. And then the rainy day fund ended the year with $1,489,000. And if you recall, we had been running right around $1 million. And the reason we were able to do that is because of the bond issues. We didn't have to spend all the money out of the operations that we had to, and we were able to move some money back over into rainy day. So those are the main funds. I mean, we have them all here. It would take me an hour and a half to go over them all. But you get the packet every month, and I just wanted to make sure you knew the end of the year cash balances look really good. So I would like to take all the credit for it, but I work with Carol on that, and so we did it together. So the final thing that I have is we did. It comes out in February, HSA, right? We pay the HSA money to the insurance people on the insurance, and if you're on a single plan, you get $750 into your HSA account, and if you're on a family plan, you get $1,500, and so that's across the board, and so that expense for us was $121,500. So that was our HSA disbursement to all of our staff that takes insurance. That's all I have for reports. Does anybody else have anything?
Well, I get to do my favorite part of the whole meeting now.
Are you not going to ask for adjournment?
No, not yet.
Let me go ahead and.
You're not adjourning.
No.
Okay.
I want to, if you just indulge me just a minute.
All right.
I apologize that I didn't say this earlier, but I think it's important because of our social media age. I think I might have made a comment earlier that could be misconstrued or I was not clear upon. And I think it's important that I say this. I do not inject my opinion on board issues that should be decided by the board. I think I made a comment about small legal issues. What I meant, and I don't think I was fully clear on that, I do not try to create gray legal issues and use it as a means to assert my opinion. I advise the board and the administration when asked on legal issues, and I would never knowingly allow non-compliance or illegal activity by the board or the administration. So without any further ado, I just wanted to make sure that's on the record because I've been the topic of a lot of social media comments.
Fair enough. All right. Good news from our buildings, and I apologize. My technical difficulties have caused a little issue here, and I have only been able to access the high schools, and so in another building, but in lieu of not being fair and trying to appease everybody, we're just going to read the high school since we're in the high school this time, and we hope to get this corrected and improved by the next meeting. But this is the fun part. This is where our kids are doing great stuff. We had U.S. Regional Skills Competition through the SICTC, and Zach Seibert received a 3rd place in carpentry. We had, as we always do, we had Viking Spotlight Students of the Month in the high school, and this is all from the high school, which included Morgan Hines, Alec Turner, Gabe Saylor, and Dominic Metcalf. North Posey is the defending PAC Academic Bowl champions, and as such, we've been selected to host the Academic Bowl competition this year at North Posey, so we get to show off our facilities. We had 50 plus senior applicants for potential Posey County Community Foundation scholarships. We had 11 seniors received qualifying scores on the ASVAB exam, which qualified them for graduation pathways. And we had students attend the 2020 Polar Plunge, which is a really cool event that happens after the first of the year. Athletic-wise, Wyatt Willman was voted the Courier Press Athlete of the Month back in early January. We probably already discussed that part. Waylon Shank, we had a couple of teachers participate in the Polar Plunge. Waylon Shank and Jennifer Neidig both participated in that. We appreciate them representing North Posey. Individual thanks, Michelle Parrish and Julian Brothers for in celebration of National School Counselor Week. We want to thank the SAD Club and sponsor Julian Brothers for organizing the Say Yes to the Dress prom event. Thank you to the North Posey cheer team for hosting the Cheetah Girls Cheer Clinic. And our choir students competed in the ISSMA solo and ensemble, and the following placed. Silver ratings were Kaylee Bratton, Carly Dom, Emma Stroud, Ansley Singer, Caitlin Williams, and our entire tenor baritone chorus. And then we had gold ratings from Jacob Blankenship, Cody Kaiser, Taylor Pachowski, and Rat Orford. So those are awesome. And I am going to vary. Our junior high, if you guys didn't see, held an outstanding event about tied to girls. Somebody help me out. I'm going to forget what that was.
All the girls.
What was it?
Empowering women.
Yeah, yeah. So they had a women empowering women event. Outstanding event from what I could tell. Anything we can do that gives our kids more positive influences is all for the better.
That's all organized by the students.
That was organized by the students?
It's a group of girls, like a senior.
So that was in the junior high. We should have them this next meeting. That'd be appropriate. Right? I'm gonna put that on your shoulders.
Okay, I can get them.
Okay, great idea. So anyway, more to come on that one. And with that, anybody else have anything for the good of the cause?
Next meeting, March 9th, I figure we'll have it in junior high. I'll either have it in here again, or we might even have it in the Mass Learning Center.
Sure.
One of the two. We'll get that squared away. Do you want to start at 5:30 and then 6:30? We'll be starting to talk about personnel throughout the whole corporation at that time, we'll just be beginning that.
Let's start it at post it at 5:30, and if something comes up, we have to change it, we can.
All right, that sounds good. All right.
For our retirements, do we have thank you cards or anything?
Good catch.
Amy went to Hawaii.
She went to Hawaii.
Okay.
We're really not back yet.
So we can do it next.
Well, go ahead and say what it is.
I was just, especially this first one, the rest of them are still a little bit farther out, but Robert Redmond is retiring as my bus driver effective February 18th. And he's had 29 and a half years of service. So I think that's pretty sure he was driving. Yeah.
He might have been driving when you were there.
I think he was. Yeah.
Excellent. Anybody else have anything for the good of the cause?
Mrs. Hendricks as well.
Yes, hers is until July or till June, so
Yes.
we've got a little bit of time, but so I assume we'll get her in here one more time. I don't know that.
I think we can say congratulations to Amy. She had some good news. She's going to be a mother-in-law, right? I'm hoping my kids take me to Hawaii when they announce that.
Oh, no, I took them.
Oh, okay. Congratulations. And as Dr. Camp said, our next meeting is in the junior high. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Stock. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Is it going?